What is an EIN and why does your nonprofit need it? That's what we're going to break down in this video today. So I'm going to talk about it in 4 major sections. First, I'm going to talk about what is an EIN. Then I'm going to talk about why you need it. Third, I'm going to talk about mistakes that people often make concerning the EIN. And finally, I'm going to show you how to obtain your own EIN. Are you ready? Let's do it. I'm Tiffany with Boss on a Budget, and I teach people how to start their nonprofits and how to raise money from the ground up. If you need help with your nonprofit, make sure you are subscribed to this channel because I drop videos every week. So let's talk about what is an EIN. It stands for Employer Identification Number. Sometimes people refer to it as the tax ID number or your 501c3 number. It's all the same. It's basically the ID number or like a social security number for your nonprofit organization. You also need this number if you're planning to hire, but just because you don't have staff or you're not going to pay payroll tax, you still need an EIN number. And to clarify, this is a number that is given to you from the government. So you go directly to the IRS website to get this number. This is not a state number. Your organization may have a separate state tax number. That's different from this. This comes directly from the IRS. And if you keep watching until the end of the video, I'm going to actually show you on the website where you can go to get your EIN. So why do you need an EIN? And you probably won't realize the importance of it until you start to make moves and people start asking you for the number. So first of all, you need an EIN to open a bank account. So again, remember how I said it's like your social security number for your organization? Well, when you're doing financial transactions, there needs to be a way to connect your finances to your organization, and banks are going to ask you straight up, what's your EIN? Secondly, if you want to be, for example, a 501c3 organization, then you're going to need your EIN before you apply for 501c3 status. In the video of how to start a nonprofit, and anytime I talk about the steps to starting a nonprofit, I always mention the EIN before you apply for tax exempt status. So it's one of those preliminary steps that you have to take if that's your next move to become tax exempt with the federal government. Also, if you want grants and donations. So foundations are going to ask you what your EIN is, or they'll say, what's your 501c3 number? Because in most circumstances, you cannot get grants unless you have 501c3 status. Your EIN is basically your 501c3 number once you obtain that status, and they're going to ask you for that before they administer any grants. Also, people who are your donors occasionally may ask you what your EIN is, or they may use it to look up information to just do their due diligence on your organization. And it's your ID number, right? So they need that to be able to connect you to whatever your history is online, including your financial history through your 990 form and things like that. Also, if you like to hire employees, you have to report wages and you also have to pay payroll tax in most circumstances. So you need that number also to be able to report that to the IRS. So let's talk about a few common mistakes that I often see people make when it comes to the EIN. And it's a fairly simple process. It's a fairly simple concept, but there are some things you just need to know. First big one is you need to incorporate or establish your organization first before you get your EIN. Sometimes people will come to me and they'll say, I'm trying to get my 501c3 status. I don't know what to do next, right? And then I ask them, well, what have you done? And they're like, oh, I have an EIN. And I'm like, well, what about the state? Have you done your articles and all that? And they have not done that. There are some times where people just go straight to the IRS because they don't realize there's a process at your state level that you have to do first before you move to the federal level. So one common mistake I see is that people get the EIN first. You need to make sure you incorporate or establish your business entity first, and then the next step after that is to get the EIN. Another reason why that's so important is because when you're putting in information in the application to get the number, you may not realize it, but they're checking against their records. And sometimes I've had people who have attempted to get an EIN, but because they're using a common name or because they applied with a different type of entity, that they're coming across issues and it's delaying the process. And this is where it can get costly for you as a nonprofit. It takes more time for you to get the number, so you can't get grants until the number is issued. And also, if there are some donors who feel more comfortable giving to you once you have a 501c3 number, you really are kind of in limbo until you get your EIN, because then you can't get your application done until you have that. So it's really important to be careful about the process. Make sure that when you're filling out information about the EIN, you're putting in the right entity type, you're identifying the right information so that there are no delays within your process. And then finally, number 4, I'm going to show you how to apply for your EIN. There are multiple ways you can get it, but the fastest and easiest way is by going directly to the IRS website, going through their online process, and you can literally be issued your number in minutes. This is where a lot of people get hemmed up, and this is where you can also save money. The EIN process is free, but if you Google EIN, you'll see a lot of websites that come up that kind of pretend they're the IRS website or are kind of telling you to go through their process to get your EIN, but you can go directly to the source and it's completely free. Those other websites may be charging you $50, $100, sometimes even more for something that literally takes minutes for you to do. So make sure you go directly to the IRS website and you can use their online system in order to get your number. Now, the system is only open Monday through Friday. So if you're trying to do this on the weekend, you're going to get a little message that says, oh, not today. But if you go through the normal business hours, then the process is relatively easy. You want to make sure you have address information available, the name of a responsible party available. You need to know what state you're incorporated in. You need to identify the type of organization you are. You need to make sure you identify that you are a nonprofit organization. And as you go through that process, you can just indicate that you're getting your EIN because you're starting a new business. Once you go through those prompts in the online system, they will issue a letter for you. Do not lose this letter because they don't mail letters or anything like that. And this is your only record of your EIN number. And let me tell you, have you ever tried to call the IRS, especially in the year of our Lord 2025? I'm just telling you that you're going to be on hold for a very long time. So to avoid having to call the IRS because you lost your number and all that, just make sure as soon as that letter is produced, you save it, print it out, put it in your nonprofit's corporate files in your corporate binder, and also save it in a safe place online. Once you do this, you are on your way to getting your 501c3 status. If you want to know the full process of starting a nonprofit, because we're just covering kind of the beginning stages, then you can download my free startup checklist, which walks you through all the steps you need to take to start your nonprofit. If you want me to send you a link to that checklist, just comment checklist below. If you need help with your nonprofit, make sure you visit me at bossonabudget.com. There are many resources there to help you. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.